Yeah, I mean, for vendors, honestly, number one, just know that you have a community and a place to go to actually find gigs and opportunities. So where before, you might have been maybe searching through social media or friends or just trying to find your next event, we have become that go-to resource in order for you to literally go and find, events that you can book on your own whenever you want. So
It's time to reimagine events. Unfortunately, in the past 2 years, many events were postponed while others chose a virtual or hybrid model, and some no longer exist. My name is Georgie-Ann, and I am the CEO and founder of GSD Solutions. At GSD Solutions, we've been exploring virtual events since 2016. And in the past 18 months, we've produced over 200 virtual events. We're inviting virtual platforms, industry experts, and service providers to talk to you all about what the events industry will look like.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Events Reimagined, the series where we reflect on the past of events and reimagine what the future of events will look like as we move forward into a more hybridized world, whether that's hybrid events, completely virtual events, or in-person events, what they will look like in the future. Today, we have a special guest, Ifebi from Vendorspace, who will be talking to us about how to source event vendors, right? Whether you're doing in-person, hybrid, or virtual events. If this is your first time joining us, my name is Georgie-Ann, and I'm the CEO and founder of GSD Solutions. We're an agency that produces virtual events, and we've produced over 200 virtual events in the last 18 months. And we are super excited to talk on this series with our partners, vendors, just other people in the event space to talk about and have strong conversations about how we have reflected on the past and how we will reimagine the future of events. So if you could please give an introduction of yourselves, tell us a little bit more beyond my short, quick intro of you.
Sure. Well, first off, thank you for having me. My name is Ifebi. I'm the founder and CEO over at Vendorspace. We are a marketplace that helps you find, book, and organize vendors. So essentially, we've created a Rolodex of event suppliers and exhibitors that will be able to respond to your bids and gigs, as well as you allowing to get creative with your experience and finding some really unique vendors that can make your guests go, wow. So we work with virtual, in-person, and hybrid events. And yeah, that's just a little bit more about us.
Awesome. And you guys have been around from before the pandemic. So can you tell me a little bit about what, inspired you to create this business and just, tell us a little bit about your team. So, we would love to hear a deeper dive on your business.
Sure. So I started Vendorspace a few years ago. My background comes from the entertainment side, doing concerts and festivals. So prior to this, I had an event production company, and we tried our first outdoor festival, and it was a huge mess. But the big reason was really that it was kind of hard to find all the vendors we needed. So we came from hosting events indoors, at indoor, venues for concerts that already have bathrooms, they already have stages, and now you're going outside and there's nothing. So it's literally like, we need lighting, we need electricity. So there was just a long list of things that, it would have been a lot easier if there was a trusted resource to tell us who, because we were guessing, we lost some money working with vendors that may not be good. So
I know that too well.
Exactly. The biggest headache that we always say, when it comes to events and why they call it so stressful is the fact that you always got to work with so many different pieces and all that. So if we can just alleviate that part and take the stress out of there, events can get done a lot quicker, easier, and save a lot of money.
Absolutely. So definitely just fill in those gaps, because you may think it takes one thing, but once, like you said, once you started looking at the list, you're like, whoa, we're missing this, we're missing this, we need to add this, contractors, subcontractors, and it gets crazy real fast. So, tell us a little bit about your team. How has it developed over the years?
Yeah, I mean, we're a growing startup. I'm very thankful for the people that are on our team right now. And together, my partner, Stephanie, she works with operations. We have a fleet of interns that help us out. But our team, we have over 40 years of experience working with like corporate and entertainment. So that knowledge has really helped us grow the business, and allowed us to work with some really great clients and corporate brands, in order to just really, put this solution out to people and allow them to use it and test it. So um, that's part of it. You can cut
Awesome.
those
Thank you.
out.
Yeah, so team is definitely important. And now I'm gonna shift gears a little bit and talk about, the pandemic, right? The pandemic has positively and negatively impacted a variety of businesses. So let's go back to the beginning, right? It's March 2020. Can you tell us what is happening? Did you previously have virtual event vendors on the platform before that? Did tell me about it? It's March 2020, everything is shutting down. What's happening at Vendorspace?
So March 2020, I mean, we thought we were ready to take off. We had just launched like a series of workshops that were going great. They were growing in size. So it definitely kind of put a dagger on us. But to answer your question, we didn't have vendors that were identified as virtual. What we discovered through the process were a lot of people could offer virtual solutions, and that really opened the doors for a lot of the vendors that worked within our community. So it was interesting to, not only be able to help them connect with virtual opportunities, but just to see them grow and offer, new streams of revenues to their customers, because we all had to learn together. So, that was really like the transition. It was trying to figure out, how can we still stay alive? How can we still be relevant? And how can we also help all these small businesses that, were hurting because they couldn't do the regular in-person events, and just trying to figure out a way to push forward.
Yeah, and I don't remember if it was this year or last year, you guys held a conference, right? Just
Yeah,
specifically
last
for the vendor. So tell me a little bit about that.
Yes, yes. So we hosted the Vendor Summit on November 11th last year. It was a great experience. We had lots of people come out from all over the world, over 12 different countries. So it was interesting to really gather those different perspectives from really diverse event professionals. And we're actually having it again on November 11th. This year, we're
11/11.
yes, we're sticking. That's our lucky day. But this year we're focused on reinventing the event experience. So kind of along the same lines with reimagining events, we're in a unique space now. And right now it's not about really waiting on COVID, to see what they're going to do, more than it's us figuring out how can we get creative within what we already have. We can see things change at the drop of a dime. So we have to get ready and, just keep pumping out new, fresh ideas of how we can still stay afloat. Because events industry, it's like we were the bottom of the rack. Like no one really were, they weren't helping us. But so just figuring out
Yeah,
ways to get
and I
creative.
love that you said that, right? Anything could change at the drop of a dime, because in a few of the conversations that I've been having throughout this series, we just keep reiterating, like, anything can change. Don't wait for vaccines or COVID to clear up. You can't wait, because you don't know. At any given moment, we could be doing fine, and then it pauses again, and then things are shut down, and then it's open again, and it's just in this ebbs and flows. So you're definitely right. You have to use what you have, and whether that's hybrid or completely virtual, or if you have space to go in person, you just do what you can in that moment. So I'd love to hear some of the experiences from the vendors, right? How you mentioned that you guys were, once you started doing the research and talking to the vendors on the platform, that it was very seamless almost to transition them from doing their stuff in person to offering online. So tell us a little bit about that experience.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it really just came down to kind of like looking within. I think you even touched on this when you spoke at our conference last year. But when you really sit down and look at your business, it's like you just have to figure out, which service can be flipped digital. So a lot of them just weren't aware, and the workshops were helpful. Just having a conversation with them were helpful, where they could understand that if they were a caterer, they could still, provide a demo of how they made the food for a workshop. We had bands in New York that were doing workshops for nonprofits in DC, and really bridging those gaps, because that's kind of what happened. It opened the doors to work across borders and even internationally now. There's just so many different things we saw. We were connecting people here to London. So it was really just sitting down and thinking about, okay, I do this, but I also can, either create or have a subcategory of something else, and really try to push that forward. So it was awesome to see. And I'm happy to see that a lot of them are still continuing it and kind of integrating virtual back into their, their operations. Because people kind of, it's like they didn't know about virtual or they didn't know how to work it and use it, but now we all understand virtual is here to stay. So
Yep. And and I think what happened for, me personally was that I knew virtual was coming from 2016, 17. I'm like, okay, it's coming.
mhm.
And just a lot of folks just weren't sure. And even in conversations that I had with colleagues and friends like late 2019, we're saying, yes, we know it's coming. It's coming maybe 5 more years, maybe 6 more years, definitely less than 10. Did we know it December 2019 that it would be less than 1? Would it be in 4 months that it was going, the storm was coming? Not at all. And so, being agile, being able to pivot, being able to say, this is what I got. How can I use it? How can I flip it to make more possibilities come true? And so now I'm going to shift gears into the topic of this panel, how to source event vendors. Let's say let's get into the scenarios. As an event agency, I need different subcontractors to work with my client for that they're trying to produce. What's my first step? How do I go about finding vendors and using a tool like Vendorspace?
Yeah, sure. So we're using our tool. The first step for us is definitely just sign up and actually listing the opportunity. But even whether you're using our platform or not, we always preach, just make sure, you have your objective and your intention in mind, because that helps you secure vendors a lot easier. You're clearly well thought out that you need this, this, and this. It even helps with negotiation. But coming back to using Vendorspace, you list your opportunity. We now push it out to our vendor community, and that's the traffic. It's like built-in traffic that allows you to get a whole bunch of leads, so you can now review. We're building it more like a matchmaking tool. So all you're doing is skimming through profiles, and you can filter based on your own type of on your own specifications that you need. So maybe you're doing an event for a client that they really only want all Black-owned vendors, or maybe your budget is only $500. It'll now list, anyone that falls below that. So it's being able to, we already know Google and stuff exists, but being able to narrow that search, and now, it's reviewed by event professionals. So GSD actually told me that this, caterer is 5 stars. So, I trust them a little bit more, and then I'm going to go forward and use them for my event.
Yeah, so you have that like rating system as well as that filtering system, so that way you could get really niche about what you're looking for. Because a Google search, once you see them 25 O's in the middle, you there for a long time.
That used to
and
be
a lot of people don't even make it to page 2.
Exactly, because it's the truth though. All these mom and pops or people that can really do it, they may not have all the advertising money that comes up on the first page, so they're buried on page 35, and you're not doing all that. Like, so that's what happens.
Yeah, once I see too many O's, I was like, oh, no. I'm not gonna no, too much. Maybe I go to the second O in the Google, but that's it. So you're definitely right. So having a source to go through and just filter and scan through and then find directly what you need. And so with this now, folks have been looking for vendors. Tell us a little bit about the model. Is it that who is charged, right? You guys have to make money some way. Does the whole transaction happen on the platform? Tell us a little bit about that experience with vendors.
Yeah, sure. So actually right now we are still in beta, and it's free up until December 31st, but we're introducing a subscription plan. So the way we've been working, we have different categories of events, whether you're looking for corporate, nonprofit, really exclusive. So the membership will allow you access to different certain types of events, as well as, different internal community events and different things like that. We're also introducing a couple new features in an app that kind of will operate as like a gig finder for vendors. So, the subscription just really based on your level of how much, work and events that you want to do. And that's how we tiered it out in order to make money.
Nice. That sounds really, really good. And now, the example, if I'm an event agency looking for what's it called? Looking for a staff. I'm a vendor, right? I've had to convert over the last couple of years into being a more virtual vendor. How do I get on the platform? What are some of the benefits for me being a vendor on Vendorspace? Let's dive into that as from the vendor side.
Yeah, I mean, for vendors, honestly, number one, just know that you have a community and a place to go to actually find gigs and opportunities. So where before, you might have been maybe searching through social media or friends or just trying to find your next event, we have become that go-to resource in order for you to literally go and find, events that you can book on your own whenever you want. So that's the biggest benefit for vendors that we've seen that they love that so far. And then also just the types of opportunities. We have everything from the nonprofits to university events. So you can also diversify your portfolio by working with us and working with some of our different events, and just keep money rolling in. Gigs is not only, it's a new thing for everybody, but also for events that we've been seeing. So, there are a lot of short-term opportunities that people just don't know about. So have access to them. Now you're growing your business. Now you can be your full-time, vendor business solution that you have and actually go forth and, making it a steady stream of income. But on top of that, we definitely provide a support community. We host different workshops for business development. So a lot of great things that, really play into like your visibility and your reach in terms of just growing your event business.
Nice. And from what you've seen so far in the industry, what's the hardest part let's switch back a little bit to the agencies or companies that are looking for vendors. What's the hardest challenge that you think vendors, agencies or companies are having when they come on to, when they're looking for vendors, not even just using Vendorspace, but just like they're looking for vendors? What are some of like the challenges there?
So some of the challenges that have brought, agencies to us have been like the time conflict, being in a crunch and trying to have to find that solution, whether it's in 24 hours, we've seen something like that before, or whether it's in a week, but you have a very specific tight budget. So, when you have those parameters, sometimes it makes it difficult and it can be a longer search process if you do it on your own. But, with Vendorspace, we're here to help. We also are available as like a team of experts to either suggest and just help you get that much quicker and further down the line. But everything is all about efficiency. In addition to that, just being able to organize all the lovely things they have going on with their agenda. So another thing that we have built into our plan in your dashboard, we have like free resources and tools, and we have this workbook that people have been using and they love, but literally it's organizing your whole event in one place so that it makes it easier for you. So list all your speakers, all your vendors, your agenda, time, all that lovely thing in a central place. But a lot of these things, have been the reason, or I guess the issues that we've seen with agencies coming to.
Yeah, definitely. I could definitely see that being an issue because I know personally when clients are coming to us and they're trying to get their stuff together, it's some folks have all their ducks in a row. Some folks are just like, we just need stuff. This is the big picture, but it's the micro pieces that are just like, okay, let's get to work. We got to get a project manager in there to organize and put everything together. And what about from the vendor side? What are some of the challenges that you think people have been experiencing? And it could be directly related to the pandemic or just overall as vendors. You mentioned sourcing opportunities, getting gigs, but have you seen anything else that maybe we haven't even thought about?
No, I mean, honestly, I think those have been the biggest thing. The biggest thing, even when we just spoke to our community, it's really just how they can stay afloat. How can they keep generating money? So all of it kind of directly ties back an opportunity. But at the end of the day, how can they just keep customers buying and interested and engaged? And these are things that we've seen where we're pitching to vendors. You guys can do your own events. Maybe host your own workshop or your own demo so that you can grow your own community and have that as a consistent thing, working with events and making that a stream of income. So those have really been the biggest things. And unfortunately, hopefully we're coming out of it so it can get better, but it's still kind of tight and rocky for everybody right now.
Absolutely. And I know you touched upon it, we talked about it a little bit, but if you could go down the list of like the first three things that a person needs to have when they're going to source vendors, just really quick and easy. I want to source a vendor. Before you get to that point, you need to have boom, boom, boom. What are those three things?
You should have your date in mind. You should have your budget, and you should have your intention. What is it that you want them to do or need them to do? And I think with those 3 points, you should be able to either make a decision, in 5 minutes or less, hopefully.
Yes, especially if you're using like Vendorspace where they give you
Yes.
directly what you need, you plug those things in and they get it for you. So now I want to start, we're coming to a close of the conversation. And so I want to ask you about, what are some of your insights of the event industry, of how it's been evolving? What have you seen that was good, bad, ugly? Just, what has been your experience these last 18 months?
It's been really amazing just to see the event community rally together. It's almost like people come out of the woodworks, and because we can all sympathize with each other. There's been like a growth and surge of event conferences, and just opportunities like this where we can all come together, share our ideas and thoughts, and kind of work collectively to see how the future events will be. But honestly, outside of that, just the creativity that has come out of it, and how we've all been thinking of new ways. I've seen some really creative virtual events. I've seen some out of the box idea vendors that you would have never thought. Magic on a Zoom
Mm-hmm.
call.
I've seen those, and I'm like, oh, okay.
Little things, right? So it's like sometimes challenges spark so much creativity, and that's what I think has really come out of the event industry that we can be thankful for. Even though it hasn't been easy, I think we've seen a surgence of virtual event platforms. Like so many new businesses out of this. So it's definitely exciting to see where it will go. I know the conversation around hybrid is big, but even with that, it's just what are the ways we're going to keep getting creative as we go forward, just accepting what is. And we do have to leave some of our old traditions behind, but, just move forward with confidence.
Yeah, absolutely. And even the conversations around hybrid, like hybrid looks so different based on who you're talking to.
Yes.
So I'll flip that back. I'm gonna just add one more question in there. How do you envision hybrid? Like in your ideal world, like what's the experience that you want to get from if somebody's like, oh, this is a hybrid event, like what are you expecting to come to?
In my ideal world, I'm thinking it's going to be like an exclusive, intimate in-person event, like something that I would say 100 or less, or even less, or, maybe 300 or less, but, smaller in person, bigger virtual, and just a play on the two stages. How can we make them interact? How can we merge? Is that, we're going to have build a set, on the in person. So that's streaming to the virtual, or the virtual speakers can talk to the people on stage in person. So that's my ideal situation, but I think honestly it works better, with the way things are. We're not supposed to technically gather large, so it might be to our best benefit if we really just take a charge on like smaller events, but making them more unique and exclusive. There's things we've seen. We've tried it with a client before, but like they scheduled something in shifts when the pandemic was really bad. So the event was 4 to 6, but only 30 people can come in 4 to 5, and then 35 to 6. So just probably playing on these type of different ways to allow people to experience it all.
Yeah, and these small group engagements are really gonna be, it's kind of going back to our roots, right? Like, many years ago, people would gather in like small groups and have these sessions and collaborations and communicate. And then the internet came along and they were like, I'm connected to 10,000 people at one time. I have 4,000 friends on Facebook. You know what I mean? And so we kind of lost off of that. And so it's like a past art that we are reimagining and like seeing how we could transform this. And it just was it was a huge reminder that although a lot of things in our lives had gotten like, what is it called? Like on a steady path, like life is this, but we had just forgotten. You go to work, take the train, go to work, do your work, come home. We were in this flow, and it's like, oh, do you think that life is more technically? Reminder. So thank you so much for being here. And then the last thing that I asked for you is for some advice. Like, do you have any advice for agencies, vendors, just people in the event space as inspiration to keep going, or just any advice that you want to offer somebody else that's in the events industry right now?
Any advice? Just keep staying creative. I think that's the best advice I can give right now. Honestly, like, just push the limits some more, think outside the box, and let's keep, we're creating our future right now. So it's kind of hard to predict or forecast it. But honestly, if we can just stay in the moment and keep trying to think of new ideas, I think we should be good. So stay creative.
Stay creative. Thank you so much, Ify. And, definitely check out Vendorspace. If you are watching this, you should look in the description on this video to see how to learn more about Vendorspace. Sign up, get in there before December 31st when their subscription model gets started, or subscribe still anyways, right? Support businesses, right? You gotta do your thing. Support businesses that are out there. And thank you so much for spending the time and doing this session with me today. And yeah, check out the rest of the series for Events Reimagined, and we'll see you guys next time.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
If you're ready to reimagine events, head on over to gsdsolutions.xyz. We look forward to seeing you at Events Reimagined.